Roger that.
Hello, my name is B-Cup, and today I will be presenting this little speed draw of 3 of my OCs for my story World No Hope. I have decided to redo their reference sheets for like the 3rd time, and in this speed draw video it's just going to be Belle, Maya, and Angelic. But to start off, before I get into character backgrounds, I will go ahead and give you guys a rundown of the world that is World No Hope. So the story is basically between Belle, which is who I'm drawing right now, and Maria's family lines, and how the world is set up in my story. Basically, the world has been split in half, not literally, but you have the supers who Belle is under the categorization of, and you just have regular humans. There was a big war started by Dragomar. That's just his name. They didn't know his first name, they just knew his last name, but that is one of the founders of Maria's bloodline. So she comes from the bloodline of the Dragomars. And it was basically started by him because he went on a big rampage and the humans were like, we don't necessarily want to deal with this. So they started a war, and in the end the humans were like, hey, we're not going to win against superpowered people. So they decided to split the world in half and end the war. So the humans got the western side of the hemisphere, and then the supers got the eastern side of the hemisphere. So to put into perspective, if you see that nobody in this story that isn't human, that is not, like, no one in this story is going to be American if they are human, except for Belle. Technically, Belle is technically Canadian and German. I just have German on her ref sheet for now, but Belle is Canadian and German because of Fritz's backstory, but I will get into that when I make Fritz's reference sheet. For now, we're talking about Belle and the story of World No Hope. So given that we have the separation, supers aren't allowed on the human side, humans aren't allowed on the super side. But with that, the human side has a lot of rules and laws and requirements for you to stay on that side of the earth, or else you get shipped straight off to the super side, which will be explored more later with the character Brooke once I get to her reference sheet. So Belle and Maria's family lines are tied by their powers. So Belle's power is called double guns because it's literally just 2 twin guns and boom. So with those twin guns though comes being tied into the family curse. And basically Belle's side of the curse, you basically have to sacrifice yourself to save everybody. So how Maria's side works will be explained in her ref sheet. But yeah, so Belle is the current generation of double guns. Her and her father are trying to figure out a way to stop the curse so they can save both Belle and Maria, and possibly find a way to bring Belle's mother out of the necklace, which is why she wears it. Now, the necklace is what activates the powers, and I have decided that the necklace cannot be activated by anybody. but if she doesn't have it, she can't activate her powers. Like, it has to be within the vicinity of her person. Like, if she's just laying down and it's just like right next to her on her dresser, she could activate her powers from there. But if somebody steals it and just locks it up in some cage somewhere across the earth, she can't activate her powers, obviously. So that is basically a rundown of her powers. The guns can have different types of bullets, I guess, or I'll say ammo. Ammo is a better word. So for Belle's gun, her gun has, regular bullet firing capabilities. Another one is teleportation, and then the last one is basically a little boost into the air. So the only thing that's different between the guns is the secondary power. So Belle's mother did not have teleportation on her gun. I'm still figuring out what she had on her guns because I haven't thought that far back, to be quite honest. But that is basically how a rundown of how her powers work. Because this is magical world and magical land, they don't have to worry about pesky ammo. It's magic. It just works. But that is a rundown of Belle's character and how her power works and a bit of her backstory. And thank you for listening. Next we have Maya. So Maya is one of the side protagonists. She is kind of Belle's right-hand woman. So a bit about Maya. She is a mermaid. She is Tanzanian and Japanese from the Oita prefecture. I don't know how to say it. So a bit of her backstory is that she, I don't know, her mermaid city was formed kind of weird. It's a newer city where she is from in the oceans of Japan. She was heavily bullied when she was a child, and that led her to develop a few eating disorders. But when she was around 13, she went through the puberty process of mermaids. In her specific species of mermaid, around the age that they hit puberty, they develop the ability to transform into humans and be able to breathe on Earth. And so she was basically going through her species mermaid puberty, and she had to leave her family behind for a little while, and that led her to meet Michael, which is another one of the characters in this story. So they have been dating for around 5 years in the story's point in time. Michael, Monster Watch, which is the group that everybody's a part of, hadn't been created yet, so Maya and Michael hadn't been recruited to it yet, but she somehow ended up on the shores of Germany. No one knows why. Maya's kind of directionally challenged, so when people were giving her instructions on how to get to the closest piece of land, she kind of just went the other way. So she ended up on Germany's shores, and that's where she met Michael, and that was her closest person at the time, and obviously they ended up dating. So then a few years into her tenure on Earth, she was finally able to transform back into a mermaid, but she decided to stay on land because she didn't feel that there was much to go back for. So she trained herself to be able to use her powers with the water on land, and train herself to manipulate other types of water, because you kind of gotta train yourself to do that. If you're a mermaid, you can't just magically manipulate all water. It's just a thing that I'm doing. And so a few years into her tenure, that is when Monster Watch was officially created. And at first it was just Maya who was recruited, but she decided to bring Michael along and see if they would let him join, and they did. So she's one of the original members of Monster Watch, as they all went to school together. So Belle, Maya, Michael, and a few others, including Angelic, Lord, I keep messing up her name, including Angelic, all went to the same school. So these three that I'm drawing in this video are kind of a part of the original crew. And that's Maya's story. Re-recording this for like the third time now because I keep messing up and calling Angelic she instead of they. Alright, so Angelic's backstory. So if any of y'all know who Ultron is, Marvel, Tony Stark, Iron Man, stuff like that, their backstory is kind of like that. Basically, They were kind of just sitting up in heaven, looking down at all the supers and the humans, and were kind of just like, why don't we just great flood them again? And so Jesus was like, no, girl, we can't do that. Sorry. And Angelic was kind of trying to fight God on that and be like, but why watch over them when we could just destroy them and their suffering? So the Lord sent Angelic down to earth to learn why he's sitting up there and just letting everybody do their thing. And that most humans are pretty great. So they actually landed on the wrong side of the planet. So Angelic landed on the human side, and during their, trip over to the super side, they met a computer head, and that computer head was kind of discarded to the other side of the world because they just treated it like a piece of junk. And during their journey back to the super side, the computer head died, unfortunately, and it left Angelic feeling empty, sad, almost. So they get over to the super side, and that's when Belle's father, Fritz, picks them up and takes them to the lovely place of Germany, because Fritz works with the super government, and that is how he has access to do all the things that he does in the story, and how he can focus time to getting his wife back. So Angelic was sent down at the age of 10 in human years, and then went to school with Belle and them, and that is how they became the Three Musketeers, the original crew of the Monster Watch. I really hope I said they. I'm not recording this another time. If I messed up and said she, I'm so sorry, Angelic. I respect pronouns. My pronouns are they, them, and so. I respect pronouns. It's late. I'm tired. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's Angelic's background, and that kind of will explain some of the things on her reference sheet. I am going back and forth on the asexual thing. I mean, it makes sense. She's an angel, but I don't know if it'll make sense for a storyline between her and Izzy. I might explore the complications with, I don't know. There is no complication. We'll see. I'm spoiling stuff. Anyway, goodbye. Alright, we're reaching the end of the video, and I just wanted to say thank you for watching me draw. The next speed draws will not be like this. I just want to give that disclaimer. I just kind of forgot to record my drawing process for all three of them, so I was just like, you know what? Gotta make this somehow, so I'm just gonna take the time lapse and do what I can. So that is this. I will be posting these on my Instagram. That will be not linked, but you'll see the @ everywhere in my videos, in my end screen. You'll see it in the end screen. But thank you for watching. Have a lovely day or night, whenever you're watching this. Bye.
Don't be a copycat. No, don't be a copycat. Nah, shit, don't be a copycat. Nah, Roger that. I fucked up at like the end parts.